Good evening. My name is Carlos Mario Castro, and this is an assignment for the curriculum subject. So, we're going to talk about the curriculum that is actually the DNA of education. Or is it? So, who does decide what is taught and why some of the reforms to adapt this curriculum actually fail? These are two of the questions that we are going to answer in this presentation from a more classical view on the curriculum. So there is an official definition of curriculum that it is a logical and structured document created by the offices in charge of education. But the real curriculum is actually a living and dynamic experiences that are shaped on the culture of every classroom, not even of every school, of every classroom. So we're going to talk about the big pictures, the macro curriculum that are the perspectives, planning, and scoping ideas that the national authorities want to apply in the schools. So in the Colombian case, we have to make a tour over time to see where these ideas and big planning comes from. So in 1999, the new constitution highlighted the right of education as whose objective is actually to instruct or to educate citizens a new model of citizen uh, concern of the environment, social needs, and uh, social economics deficiency that is in the country. So in 1992, there was the first action on the new constitution that it was the law authority that grants autonomy to superior educational institutions like universities and colleges. So in 1994, one of the big jewels of this new vision on education comes in the form of the general law of education, that is actually one of the big gains for our country because it was a war between the national politicians and the teachers' unions. Now, one of the one of the big achievements of this new trend in education in Colombia was the implementation of the decennial plans, that they look to commitments from governments to certain objectives instead of looking for to implement ideologies. That's why it's a 10-year plan and not a presidential period plan. So one of the main concerns about this new trend is that the national government has designed a curriculum that actually is an overflow of content that actually makes difficult learning, well, makes learning a little bit difficult, and is a big source of frustration in the students when they cannot learn all of it. These big pressures on the curriculum, this overflow, comes from five different pressures it has on it. The global trends, I mean, the like, for example, uh, climate change, it needs to be applied somewhere in the curriculum, the needs of the market. It means that if there is a new industry or there is a lack of certain uh, skilled worker, the educational system have to step forward. There is another pressure from big corp interests that they want to get hands into education to structurate consumers, and also there is some kind of social needs like when there is a lot of unemployment, the education has to respond to these social needs. But last but not least, we have to understand that the main goal of education is the personal development. Like the Constitution says, it is his job to help the students in his individual growth. In this growth, one of the changes implemented in the last decades is that we have to leave behind the education based on knowledge, and now the education is now based on competence. That is the ability of an individual to execute productive functions in different contexts. Now, in the middle level, we have to talk about the controversy between the big planning and what people really want. We have to remember that the curriculum is designed by central authorities and it's sent to the school without a strict knowledge of what happens in these schools. Because the real curriculum is the set of experiences and all the creativity of teachers and the schools as a whole to help the students in in their objectives, in their life. So this changes, this conflict, when this conflict resurge or reemerge when the schools are underestimated and sometimes are not watched enough. There are actually some schools that don't want to follow these guidelines from the government because they feel threatened by the new exigencies and they lack of support and resources and appropriate instruction. And there is a disagreement with the philosophy itself of the reforms. And there is also fear to lose privilege and security. And there is also distrust by because there was previous bad experiences and broken promises. Now, in the micro level, that is the universe of the teachers, we have to understand that that teacher in the classroom is an executor. It's a professional and it is an intellectual. He has three roles: one technical role that is to implement the curriculum, an artistic role that is actually to analyze and adapt and decorate this curriculum to be applied to the needs of the classroom. And the third one is to actually use that to make changes in the context of the students to make good transformation. So one of the last discussions of these new curriculum trends are if the teacher learning is actually a thing. In the late 1990s and the early 2000s, there was some kind of trend that integrated the two concepts, saying that it's actually the same thing. Now the new trends in education in the 2020s is actually to understand that even the more skilled teacher and the more dedicated or devoted teacher actually teaches something different than what the students learn, because there are a lot of lateral factors that are affecting the process, and there is something that is being lost in translation. So, as a conclusion, in order to build bridges to actually connect the big ideas to the needs of the classroom itself, we have to understand that the curriculum cannot be something that is meant to be delivered. It is a human process, and it's meant as a navigation chart to certain objectives, but not only the national objectives. We have to integrate the personal and individual needs into them. And second, we have to understand that if that teacher is actually the hero in the classroom, that is a real architect behind curriculum. So we have to ask a question: Does he has does he have the right tools to design, to adapt, and to implement these curriculum ideas and actually to transform the context? Thank you very much.